Uh, Hi guys, good morning. Hope you guys are staying safe. Today we have our guest Ranil Harshana, who's from Sri Lanka. He's a trainer basically, and you'll get to know from him soon all his stories and what he's been working on. Ranil should be here. Yes, we have Ranil. We have Ranil here.
Can you hear me, Kiran?
Hi. Yeah. Hi, Ranil.
Hi, how are you? Morning.
Morning. How are you doing?
Good. So far, good.
Very nice.
Isolated?
Very nice. How's the law? Yeah, obviously isolated.
Isolated and frustrated, and yeah,
Of course. Of
waiting
course.
to go back on the tournaments.
Right.
Yeah.
All the players, tennis players are waiting to hear something from you because everybody is sitting at home and they
Yeah.
hardly
Okay.
have anything to do. And most of
Right.
them,
Mhm.
whoever I've been talking with, everybody is really their main concern is how are they when they get back on court.
Yeah.
They're all worried if they could get back into that shape. I mean, they'll be able to maintain the same fitness or no. I think this is where you will be a lot of help to them.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, shall I go at it?
Yeah, so shall we start? Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Ranil, basically, Ranil is a dear friend of mine, and he's from Sri Lanka. We met in SLTA for the first time, and that is where I've been following him for time. And it's a long journey for Ranil. He's so Ranil. I want you to tell how getting into fitness and all this actually started.
Personally, myself, or
Yes, yourself.
okay. So
How
I
did you
started
get into
about
fitness and all that?
okay. So I was into badminton, table tennis, and martial arts.
Right, right,
So then I got injured doing with the Asian systems, right? So
right,
Asian fitness methods and stuff like that. So then
right.
I got myself educated. So I traveled to the US, UK, and did all the certifications, studied under the great mentors like Dr. Fred Hatfield, JC Santana, and like Dr. Bird from Australia, England. Then I continued my studies. So during that process, I was like a personal trainer, group fitness, corporate wellness. Then I transited to strength and conditioning full time. So
Yeah.
then my niche is like performance training, performance nutrition. So I've handled like over the past 23 years all the top guys in combat sports, from IFMA, LETV to MMA to WTA, ATP, you name it, Davis Cup,
Right,
Fed Cup, yeah, Olympics, Paralympics,
right, right.
extreme
That's
athletes. Yeah,
so
yeah,
much, so much you've gone through in the last 23 years, which you've been mentioning. Uh, you know, uh, and to be frank, first thing is all of us want to know. It's like maybe you can say rapid fire for you,
yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go
We
ahead.
wanted to know all your qualifications. So we'll start from the first one.
Yeah,
DFN. What does that stand
that's
for and what
actually
does it do?
that's actually diploma in fitness and nutrition. So that's the basic college education. Yeah.
Right. Then
So
CPT.
that's called certified personal trainer from multiple organizations. Yeah,
Right.
ACSM, ACE, like yeah, all of them. Yeah,
Right. CGFT.
that's certified in group fitness.
Okay. Right. PES.
It's called performance enhancement specialist. Performance
Right.
enhancement specialist. Yeah,
Performance Enhance Specialist.
yeah.
CES.
A corrective exercise specialist.
Right. MMACS.
That's for martial arts strength and conditioning, mixed martial arts strength and conditioning. Yeah.
Right. CSSC.
That's certified in strength and conditioning.
Right. And SET.
That's certified in exercise therapy. Like that's the bridge between between physio and getting back into the what you call the live training. There's a small gap.
Right.
So
Right.
with that credential, you bridge that gap.
Right. Then
Yeah.
SSN.
That's in sports nutrition, specialist in sports nutrition. Yeah,
Right.
not for the
FT.
rehab and that's in
Right.
functional training. Yeah, functional training. Functional training.
Functional training.
Yeah.
Right. And PTS.
That's called Performance Training Solutions. That's from UK. Yeah, yeah.
So solution. There is something between the solution and just the training, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
There's something
Performance.
else,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it? Performance
Performance
training
training
and
solution. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Performance training
Right.
solution.
Yeah. Then
On top of
Reiki
that,
as well.
yeah, and on top of that, to maintain these certifications, you have to do like two, 20 credits per 2 years for each certification. So throughout the years,
Right.
so you have to do small courses, lectures, workshops, blah blah blah. So that's for
Yeah.
like to maintain each certification, you have to go through like multiple small courses. So yeah, I've been there, done that. Yeah.
Right. Then of course Reiki. Reiki is one.
Yeah, Reiki, I use like a hybrid system because I was born in Asia, but I lived in multiple countries. So what I hybrid is the Western sports science with the ancient martial arts mentality and some herbal stuff from India, Sri Lanka. So that actually helps. So if you take like 10 years back, now all of the ingredients which we use in India and Sri Lanka is coming into play, like turmeric is big in the US for anti-inflammation, like garlic. Yeah. So I've been using it like fused for the past 10, 15 years with my athletes. Anyways, like capsicum, you can garlic, you got like bees honey. Right. Now it's a trend in the West, but we've been using for like thousands of years, as you know, like in India and Sri Lanka with Ayurvedic medicine. So when I train my athletes, I kind of fused between so mentality and the herbs and the Eastern way and with the Western way. So I come up with the that's my own way of training the athletes. Yeah. So far it was successful with like less injuries. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That is something interesting and very good point we can take from being in the subcontinent.
Yeah.
Right. And then the international high performance coach that was with ITF.
No, international high performance. That's my background and that's what I do. So I consult multiple countries, like for SEAGames and Asian Games, like from like Thailand to Indonesia to like I have like so many athletes all over the world. So I do like professional athletes with the non-disclosure agreement with certain management and also the countries. Yeah. So yeah.
Right.
So
yeah. Super. I think that's anything else left because we have one of our friend is one of the coaches, Ratan. Ratan, he said, man, is there any certification, other certifications still left over?
Yeah. You always learn, man. Yeah, it's always learn because I always learn. Yeah, always in the ball game. So the good thing about the US certifications, tell your friend, the coach. So once you're certified in one certification, to maintain that particular certification, you have to get 20 credits every 2 years. So that's like a hell of a lot of courses. It's like continuing education credits to maintain each certification. So these are the main certification So once you have the main certification, you have like small certification to maintain those certifications. So you're always on the learning mode. Yeah. So it's not like, okay, I've certified in like 1990 or like 2000, I'm done. Like it's not that. So if you don't get the credits, your certification expires. Simple as that.
Yeah, like you need to maintain, you need to be updated every day.
Right. Every 2 years. Yeah.
Right. Perfect.
Okay.
So, Ranil, so let's come to, you worked with, you worked on Olympics, Paralympics, SEAGames, Asian Games, and you worked on a lot of tennis, badminton, a little bit of, I think,
javelin,
some cricket as well, little bit of cricket as well.
With some of the West Indian cricketers, yeah.
Right. So all these, the fitness between them is different, for every sport it is different. How do you keep everything, what are the basic things which you take care of with every sportsman?
Because my primary concern is they are in the basic conditioning, because each sport, each athlete. So now I focus, that's why I don't focus on the group sports like soccer, volleyball, or that kind of sports, because it's difficult to monitor, because that's not my passion. So I cater to individual sports like badminton, tennis, or combat sports. So it's actually on an individual basis. So if you're going for a country, it's maximum about like 4 players or 5 players. If you take Davis Cup or Fed Cup or in that caliber. But if not, it's like individual players, right? So it's easy to monitor and to have a good relationship with the athletes and the coaches. So we cater to all the minute details from like getting the blood work done and getting the postural assessments and to maintain that. And also the training volume, the training loads, what you eat, because each athlete might respond to different, different way to eat stress. So for example, you can, for forehand, like athlete A can play 20 forehands, for example. Athlete B can play 24 hands, right? So the C can play 24 hands, but athlete A might be working at a high intensity, 90%. So if you take your ATP ranking players or like professional players, so for them, 20 ball is like they give everything they got. A complete player will be doing less. So you got to monitor that load and to see where it's lacking and what are the areas you need to focus. So as a blanket cover, if you take all the sports, what is primary requirement is like the cardiovascular and respiratory base. That's a must. So that's where the energy output, or like depending on the sports. So if you take sports like tennis, it covers through like all the energy systems, like unlike sprinting or like putt shot or javelin. So tennis is like at present now it's like a more of like a power endurance game compared to like 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, so now like actually the male players are like serve and volley players. It's like bang, it's like a energy system one. I mean, if you take the female players, it's like a baseline players. I mean, majority of them. So if you're playing in the clay, like a high grinding, like the French clay, but if you're in the hard court, it's about like 3 to 4 seconds per point. So it all depends on the athlete and how they respond to the coaching program and the relationship you have with what do you call the technical coach, the performance coach, and your physio and the doctor and like the entire team. Yeah. So at this period, I would reckon for all the athletes to maintain the cardiovascular base, because the stability, not only the core, because everybody's saying like core every time, right? Because you need to do that much of core, but most of them is like core exercises, like the crunching. So most of my athletes, I never do like the crunches, like the flexion motion, because in the sport itself, it covers that, right? So in the rotations, you don't need to tax too much. Then again, it depends. So actually what this, like, it depends. It's actually, I was lecturing with one of the workshops for ITF Asians or the World Conference. One tip I got from Dave Miley, it's everything depends. So
everything
depends
is perfect.
Yeah, that's like actually one word I was searching for like all these years. So that's why I say like always go and mingle. I mean, we all learn from each other. So depends is like a key word. So every mental aspect, the recovery, the nutrition, the hydration, your training load, the exercise, all actually depends. Yeah.
Right. Perfect. So the most important thing again, in these lockdown times, anyway, we are coming to that part next, in all the websites which you already designed to have online courses for the coaches, trainers, and players. Right? We're going to go. We will directly go there. So first, I want you. Which one you want to do first? Strength attack or tennis BPM?
Anything, man. Yeah, I'm flexible. Anything. Yeah, anything. Shoot at me.
Which one do you think should go first?
I think we'll go with the tennis first, because your majority of the players are like tennis. Yeah.
And in our the viewers, we have tennis coaches. Our friend Anand is also here.
Oh, hi Anand. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, Anand is here.
Okay.
Anand is here. Then we have Harini, who's a physio. We have physios, we have trainers, we have tennis coaches, we have players in it.
Right. Okay. Perfect combinations. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So let's go with tennis BPM. Tennis BPM is one of the tennis specific sites which Ranil has designed. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So tennis BPM is actually, I want to bridge the gap Because see, most of the time what happens with the tennis coaches or like the trainers, right, they do random stuff, especially for the long-term athletic development and the kids, right? So what happens is like they go on to the professional players profiles or like video clips or whatever, they try to mimic those activities into their kids, right? The chances are, if you ask any doctor or physio, they are getting like a higher dose, like a higher volume and a higher dose of exercises or like the training volume for that kid. So what happens eventually, because they have like stress fractures to metabolic, stresses to a lot of diseases, demotivation, like a lot of factors. So I decided to create this in a simple format, coming with a book in like 2014 as well. So, and for the, especially for the, so that actually I simplified all the strength and conditioning, like, as I was speaking to you, you don't have to call like ATP CP system and get everybody confused, right? So
exactly.
So if you keep it simple, everybody could understand. A kid would understand, the coaches would understand, because nobody's going to write papers here, right? So we are here in like field work, because otherwise you'll be researchers, because so my thing was like gaining that knowledge to simplify it and make it applicable for tennis coaches in about 3 days. So that was the workshop was intended for. So in 3 days, you do the theoretical work, you do the practical work. So that's like a 3-day workshop for the coaches, so they can handle how to assess like a new player or like the basic assessment. This is not for the professional players, but this is for the junior, recreational, and the junior performance players. So who are traveling. So those are the, actually, if you take like the bulk of the coaches who are like interacting or like in the organizations, they'll be working with those type of players. Because when you take any sport, professional players have their own team anyways. So when I go with, I have like specific in whatever, badminton or tennis or combat, you have the specific technical coaches, we got ourselves, because those athletes are covered anyways. But majority of coaches will cover the, what do you call, the, these mentioned players from juniors to recreational to like performance players in the junior level. So these are the key areas. So if you maintain a solid base for them, so they have a good future for the college tennis and the professional players. So what happens, what I saw like over the years in every sport, by the time they hit like 17, 18, they're injured or they're demotivated. So they like fed up with their sport because they're trying to do too much.
That's the present scenario in India.
Yeah, I mean that's everywhere. Most of the countries in Southeast Asia, that's a common thing. So exactly, yeah. Because even in the other countries, if you are not blessed with like a good city or a state or like a good school, it'll boil down to the same thing, right? So I just want to bridge the gap. This book, when you read that, a parent would understand, a kid would understand, a coach would understand. Simple. What to eat, when to eat. Like that, everything is broken down, like from glycemic index to like proteins or fats to recovery. Everything is simplified, so you have a training base and a solid base. So once you have that solid base, it's easy to progress into the high performance players. So that's what the rationale behind it.
That's something really interesting to be.
Thanks.
Right, and the players can also get enrolled in this.
No, the book can be purchased by anyone. That's on Amazon.
No, not the book. We're talking about the tennis BPM.
Yeah, players can come in, but it's specifically meant for coaches. Yeah, if the players come in, they'll have a better understanding. So once you have a better understanding, so their adherence to the exercise or the tennis specific routines or the skill specific would be sustained. Because they understand why they do things, instead of just running. Okay, I do 500 do forehands or backhands or whatever, or do like a run around like 30 minutes for what. So when they understand the why and the what and the benefits, so they'll understand it better, and it's like easy for them because they'll understand, because they're the ones who are playing. So they'll understand their body better than anybody else, right? So it's like a
this is something really interesting. Then we go to the live fitness, fit online, or strength and attack.
Strength and attack is actually meant for like the combat athletes. So this is like a high, because that's like a different mentality altogether. Because when you're hitting each other for a sport and cutting up, so that's like a different mentality and different kind of intensity. So what you use, for example, what you get in a tour, like for example, like a 5-set match or like a week's play, we get it in like 25 minutes or 15 minutes. So these are like, yeah, it's all condensed. So that's why I selected, because these are my two passionate sports, tennis and combat. Both are equally tough in a different way, mentally and physically. Yeah.
Correct.
So tennis, if you're going on tour, or like if you're, it's pretty tough, different time zones. But in combat, you get like blooded up, yeah, internal damage, yeah, a lot of, yeah.
Yeah,
So
quite a lot of things.
yeah. So it's like, yeah. So it's two extremes, but I love it. Yeah. So on the online fitness, it's like for anybody who actually, I use this with my professional players, because when I'm contracted to one player for a couple of months or a country, I have to neglect the other players. So this system, actually, I individualize. I have the PDFs to animations to Skype calls to nutrition pinpoint for that particular player, so they can do their customized workout instead of random workouts. So nowadays, like you do like lunges, squats, like you have seen thousands up in the YouTube and like whatever, like Instagram, like Facebook, you do like squats, you can step ups, you got like box step up, there's, yeah. So the question is, do you actually need it as an athlete or a coach? And to what extent you need that protocol, right? For example, if you have a strong core stabilizers, right? Do you want to focus extra work on the core stabilizers, or you want to balance that out, maintain it, and focus on somewhere you're neglecting or where you want to improve? Right. You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So that is actually much more sensible.
That is one of the major things we've been, we have not been concentrating, or maybe you don't know which one to use. Most of the coaches, because there's so much of not just tennis coaches. But then the player, the parent, there's a lot of information on site on the web that you are confused. At times, when people ask me, even I am confused. Which one should I actually follow?
Yeah, exactly. So that is actually the main reason of this online program. You bridge the gap. So it's like me, because I don't go to teach tennis skills for obvious reasons, right? That's why the coaches are there, right? So this is my analogy, because for example, teachers or whoever, right? So who needs a haircut doesn't do that by listening to the YouTube, right? You go to your hairdresser.
Exactly.
When it comes to fitness or like any other sport or whatever, you learned everything from the YouTube. But when it comes to the hairdresser or dentistry or like whatever, dressmaking, or like if you want to get your suit cut up, you go to the dressmaker.
You need a professional. Yeah, you need a professional there.
Exactly. So we work, as long as we work as a team, that is the way to go. So I got a lot of requests, why don't you do like YouTube videos online? I said, like, it's for what? Because I cater to a specific niche. If you're a corporate guy, corporate fitness, then you're like a sedentary guy who has your business stuff. He doesn't need to do like high intensity workouts or like whatever to maintain his lifestyle or the fitness level. But if you're like a tennis player, you don't need to work as a combat athlete. And likewise, if you're a soccer player or a cricketer, like if you're a batter or like a bowler or a wicket keeper, you have like different tasks. Because I don't know much about soccer, so I'll skip that. But for javelin, it's like a power sport, which I've done with some of the Olympians who qualify. But then again, it's like a power sport. So I'm more inclined towards like the power endurance, because I'm not passionate about marathon running, triathletes. So that's like a different ball game. So I link up with most. Can you read me or? Yeah.
Yes. I think it's just that the video is not.
It's stuck. Yeah.
It's stuck. Video is stuck.
Okay. Right. So yeah. I don't know. Like Let's see.
Yeah. It's okay. We have another. We have a question here from Ratan. He says, we could include a few sessions of contact sports routine in our daily fitness sessions, Tai Chi as well.
Yeah, it depends on like where your athlete is at, right? So for example, so sometimes, it depends on the athlete's training age, right? Training age, like how many years has the athlete trained, and his or her biological age. So for example, if you try to hit like focusing mitts or pads or bags or like whatever, like because everybody's like into Muay Thai, like MMA, like stuff like that. So the reason is like we train years before hitting the pads or the bags, and there's a specific technique to hold the pads and different types of bags, different types of pads, and we do like taping of the hand in a different way before you hit. So then again, like I wouldn't use it's okay to use as like a variety to get the monotonous out of the program. So if you are doing some shadow boxing, that's fine, right? Tai Chi is perfect. I mean, yoga, I don't believe in, like, I had like many questions about like why yoga is like not good, like in world conferences, and like I was going back and forth, right? So I said like all the tools are good provided at what time you use it. So, but yogic breathing is perfect, right? So if you take the yogic breathing, like it's like one of the best in brain neuro, best, hands down. But if you use like their postures or the yoga poses or like a Pilates or whatever, it doesn't necessarily fit into like tennis or combat sport or like whatever, right? So you need to find like what is workable for that particular athlete and use it. So for your question, I mean, you can use it, but provided he's not like a high level athlete. But if he's a junior athlete, most sports you're engaged because then you have like a more of like a overall athletic base. So then you're not stressing the same body parts, same energy systems on a continuous basis. So for example, if you play a bit of soccer, okay, that's fine, or football, then you play a bit of basketball, tennis, swimming. So you're not stressing the same joints, the same energy system over and over again. So the injury rate and the stress on the particular parts and the energy system is less. So that's actually perfect. But if you're training like a high level athlete, that's not the way to go, because then we focus much on the nutrition, the recovery, and those kind of aspects, and try to minimize the time and do high quality, high intense work in a specific period of time.
Correct. That's so true. I think again, when we come back to Dave Miley's thing, everything depends.
Yeah, that's like, I love it. Yeah.
That's perfect. And how about Live Fit Online?
Yeah, that's the one for like for everyone. Like if you want to do like fitness, the corporate fitness, that's where I focus on my online programming, because tennis and combat is like more of a niche. So if anybody wants like the online training, I can like categorize on that online thing. Yeah. So for the corporates or like whoever coaches or athletes or whoever, right? But tennis and the combat is like more specific. It's like a high intensity. It's like for a specific niche.
Exactly. And Ranil, the most important thing these days, so many tennis players, so many different sportsmen like cricket, tennis, badminton. Okay, they are adding a lot of MMA into their fitness. Then they are adding yoga, and these are fine because for for their controlling their breath, meditation. All these are so many things. But how do you look at all these things together? Because they have no time, because once they practice, they also need to practice for a while, and they get into all this, and I think that is where most of them are being injured as well, because I see a lot of not just tennis players, badminton players.
Because I've trained some of the badminton players, like even the junior number 2 and the Olympic badminton. So that's a different ball game. So badminton and fencing are in much more relations, right, compared to the other racket sports. Yeah, right. So if you take squash or tennis, it's not going to be same as the badminton and fencing. So fencing and badminton is like more on like similar lines, right? So my question is like, everybody does like the cool stuff, like the jumps and the snatches and like all this stuff. Have you seen like a Olympic powerlifter doing tennis or badminton or tennis drill or cricket drill? Never.
Obviously no. Maybe for recreation, maybe.
Maybe that's like on like when you're off peak on your transition period. Yeah, that's fine. But have you seen like any combat athletes doing cricket stroke or getting a bat or like doing those stuff?
Absolutely
Never.
No. Absolutely.
So that's my reason, because all this stuff are cool because that's the trending subjects. But then you have to decide, like, are you doing for the coolness or like are you want to get some benefit or whatever. Personally, me, because for the past month, because I'm used to traveling a lot with athletes doing the gym stuff. Now I'm like really isolated. So what I doing now, I don't have. So I'm doing the best what I can now with working on the podcast, working on the writing, and doing some body weight. Because at this period, you're not going to overtax yourself because your immunity is going to go down, right? So if you overtrain or like overtax, right? Especially with the COVID and like whatever, because the more less immunity you have, less stress in your cortisol you have. So then you have to adjust it accordingly to maintain. So now what I do is like the basic cardio and basic body weight and few of the bands. So not going crazy, just maintaining. So you're going to ride out the wave and see what happens. Yeah.
Correct. And the most important thing here, see, you work with most of the professionals, Olympics,
Yeah.
SEAGames, everywhere. So how do you work on them? So basically, Ranil goes and directly gets them, or is there something pre-season, and then you have the tournament, and then you have the
exactly,
tournament?
Yeah, because what happens.
Can you just elaborate and tell us?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you have to understand if you're going into a country, because usually we are going into countries or like the organizations. Those are the two aspects, or the professional athletes. So those are like three angles you cover. So if you're going into a country, so the country hire us as like with the performance unit. So we'll head the performance unit, then we are categorize the sport, which are like medal prospects. Like if you're taking for Olympics or like Paralymics, Asian Games, SEAGames, then we focus on that. And under us, we have like a team of coaches, strength and conditioning, technical coaches, the athletes. So we actually monitor as like a consultant. We cater to like the gold medalist potentials and the silver medalist potential. Right. So we work as a team to categorize them and to have the periodizing cycles, the training volumes, the methods, correcting and everything. Yeah. From monitoring to correcting to programming. So if you go into like a small group, for example, if you take a Davis Cup or a Fed Cup team or like a combat organization, then it won't be, it'll be a bit more specific because you have like less people, right? At least 4 or 6 players. So it's easy to monitor, easy to get results, and easy to sustain. Right. So when you go into professionals, they are not attached to any organization. They are run by the management. So that's where we do the non-disclosure agreement. Right. You have the sponsored and everybody. So then what we do is like it's highly personalized. So we take, for personally, I have like the lasers to percussions to cortisol levels, the blood drugs, everything like what you call the blood results. Everything is monitored on an individual basis. So for an individual athlete, we spend about 8 to 10 hours per day on an athlete. So which is impossible if you're handling like 4 athletes, it's not going to happen. So that's why you have like the professional athletes separately. These I'm talking about the strength and conditioning part only and the recovery, and the technical part is plays a key factor as well. So if you are doing like a technical session, then you have like a sparring session, like in like going for like trial matches or some sets. Or drills in tennis. So in between we come in. So the athlete trains about like a hell of a load of hours during the day. So each session is monitored. The nutrition is monitored for that particular session. I'm talking about the professional.
So this is pre-tournament.
Yeah, pre or during or everything varies. Yeah. So even the peak time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So in pre is like your preparation. It depends on like what you're going to do. Right. That's where the periodizing comes in. Yeah, periodizing comes in because you have like different models of periodizing. You got the block periodizing, you got the undulating, and you got the concurrent, right? The concurrent periodizing is like you do multiple stuff. So usually if you have like an athlete at a higher level, so if you take a professional, professional tennis player, let's say, then, so then they can do the, what do you call the concurrent or like the undulating periodizing because they have been there for a long period. They know their body, the athletes and the coaching staff know their body and the response. So they can do like 1 day strength, the speed, the maintenance, likewise. But if you're developing athletes, the block periodizing is the best thing. Then you have like microcycles, the mesocycles, the macrocycles in different ways.
Exactly. Block periodizing is also becoming a trend now.
Yeah, because then again, like most people ask these questions on like seminars, okay, what is the block periodizing, what is the best way? There's like no best way because we have just the basic plan, then we modify it on a daily basis. So for example, okay, we are starting, for example, say we are starting on the basic strength endurance. That was our plan for the next 2-3 weeks, right? Okay, so the athletes, there's a heavy session previous night with tennis. But in the morning, you have the strength endurance session. So the recommended protocol cannot be done. So if you do the recommended protocol, the athlete is going to have like a metabolic shutdown and a physical shutdown and a mental shutdown. So as a strength and conditioning coach, you got to modify it then and there. So like all these periodizing plans or whatever, it's good to have like a plan, but we always modify it then and there on a daily basis. So it's like
On a
what we
day.
call is
Correct.
like daily progressions and
You
regressions.
cannot follow a timetable basically. Everything depends on,
Yeah.
again, everything
Yeah,
depends.
exactly. Yeah. So,
Perfect.
yeah. So as for this period, I think I think the players will have a question what to do during this period, right? So that's the main,
Exactly.
yeah. So my best recommendation, work on the stability, the mobility, right? And also the cardiovascular base. And by this time, you can do some muscle endurance because without the proper strength, you're not going to do the good strength workout. Because as a
Because here,
professional,
when you're talking about endurance now, when you
yeah,
mentioned endurance, most of them cannot go out of the house, right?
yeah.
So how can they build endurance?
So that's why I said like you got stationary running, right? So you can do,
Okay.
quick motion like lateral motion or whatever the space you have like in your balcony or like your apartment. So you got to do repeatedly. I know it's tough. It's not
Correct.
the ideal condition, but
Correct.
as an athlete, you got to do that, whatever it takes. So sometimes when I go with my athletes in unknown countries, we just depend on like oatmeal, egg boils, or like tuna cans or whatever. We don't eat outside the salads or ice creams or whatever. So the reason
Yeah.
is if you get like a stomach problem or whatever, then you're done. All this hard work is done. So
Correct.
sometimes we go weeks without eating unless we are booked in a good hotel or like a 5-star hotel. We don't eat out. We don't eat salad. We don't eat like ice creams or stuff like that. But we always
Correct.
do like safety stuff, like peanut butter, bread, eggs boiled, like the basic stuff, but which gives you the nutrition. And also we have like our, NSA certified supplements, which are, banned substance free supplements, which is approved by WADA
Correct.
and stuff like that. So we check on those. So we maintain like, so you got to do what you can with what you have at that particular moment.
Right. Right. I think, yeah, I think most of them I'm sure they'll be convinced with this answer from you.
Yeah, because personally, because you can do the stationary running, you can do the wall running, right?
Correct.
But then again, it's not a high intensity. But your goal should be these days working on the cardiorespiratory system, right? So if you're in like apartments, I don't know like this health standard because of the COVID, the pools are safe or not. But if you have like an isolation pool or whatever, you can do some swimming and get the stuff done if you're in an apartment. But then again, you check with your local health authorities, is it safe or not? Because that I'm not sure. If not, you can use the interval-based training. So interval-based training, you can do the first step, right? In a split stance, you can take the first step, right? So you can develop that in a small space for tennis players, especially. So you got to be in the split. Okay, take the left step, the left foot forward, the right foot forward, couple of steps and back. So that you can do it in an interval base, like 1-to-2 ratio or 1-to-1 ratio. So that will work on the interval basis. But on a regular maintenance, you can do like multiple, like if you have like a small place, it's tough. You can do the lateral shuffles, you can do the crossover step, forward, backward running, or like if you have like apartment, you can go up and down the stairs, or
Maybe
like
correct.
combination.
That's sufficient in a smaller space. These are the things which are sufficient
which
in a
we can
smaller.
do. Yeah, that's all we can do. We can, expect because everybody's facing this heat anyways. So all the tournaments are canceled. Like after the program, it's going to be a problem as well. So there is, So it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we have one more question. What about the importance of sound healing therapy in sports to calm and help in concentration of athletes?
Yeah, it's perfect because I use it. So then we have the music type. So the certain people are responding into a certain level. I think those who are interested, because I'll be doing a specific blog on this. So you can go to the Strength Attack blog, and I did an article on sleep. Sleep is like importance of sleep. So the next one I'm talking about this kind of sound therapy. Sound is actually, see what happens, like in the sound therapy, you're working on the parasympathetic nervous system, same as in yogic breathing or tai chi or whatever. So it's actually the calming down effect. So the same music can be used to hype up. So that's why you see like certain players listen to music before the tournament, or like coming into the ring or like the court, you listen to certain music. So that can be taken to amp it up as well. So depending on the personal choice, because for most of the combat athletes, we do like sound therapy, high intensity, like say rock music or whatever, they prefer that because they are like more aggressive. So majority of tennis players are more into like hip hop, like the rap and stuff like that. Before a tennis match, they are like, right? They are like chill out, like coming in.
We have one of the players who's become a rap singer now.
See, perfect, yeah.
I'm
So
not joking.
perfect. Yeah, perfect, yeah. Yeah. So perfect. Yeah. So that, yeah. So that, and then again, their cooling type is different. So for me, I think like majority of the what do you call the tennis players are into hip hop and some other like what do you call the
They're
romantic
into
type of music.
yeah, hard rock, rap. There's so much
Yeah,
into.
it depends.
So many
Yeah.
of them are into
Yeah.
rap
So
and
it's
rock.
yeah, it works because see what happens like the number of beats per minute, like same with coming into the group fitness. You got like if you do like a cardio kickboxing or a Zumba class, or it's specific to a number of beats. Like you have the step aerobics, you got like number of beats, tick, 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 right?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So that number of beat actually it triggers. See how your body responds with your senses. You got the
Right.
senses from the eyes, the ear, the touch, the smell. So all the senses it inputs your brain. So that's how your body responds, anyways, right? So that goes into the central nervous system. It transports like the action, then the action potential comes into the muscles or whatever, then you get used to that. So what happens like it specific routines will build up your confidence in calming down or getting amped up for the tournament. So it's sound therapy is perfect, but then again you need to find like what the athletes like, not what you like, right? So sometimes yeah, my players they prefer, I mean instead of sound therapy they prefer to play a video game, right? That relaxes them more than sound therapy. Video games or
Okay.
like yeah, video games or like whatever, right? So some of the athletes they prefer that to calm them down. So it's pointless me going in to say, you listen to the sound therapy, that'll be a stress for them, right? They chill out basically with a game. So you gotta
Again,
yeah.
depends. Everything
Right.
depends.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, yeah, perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
So Dave Miley is never wrong.
Yeah. That's why I said like you hang out with like the good people, we learn from each other. So some tips like
Right.
this conversation I learned from something from you is like you gotta have an open
Perfect.
mind. Like it's like nobody
Absolutely.
yeah. So it's like we go hang
Perfect.
out with the right people, you learn a lot, apply like
Perfect.
every
We have another player here. We have Pratyusha, one of the players here, and Pratyusha plays a lot of. She's into a lot of different types of fitness. She I think she becomes monotonous doing the regular routine. She does a lot of football kind of thing. The footsteps and all that kind of
right.
stuff. Even she's one who's hearing us. Then we have.
Yeah.
Gokul. Gokul is a very senior coach with us who's been working for a while. He comes from a tennis family. He's also
Nice. Yeah.
watching us here. So yeah, we have another girl here, Neharika. Neharika's father was my karate master.
All right, nice, yeah.
Karate in school, and even she's watching, and the sir has been very influential on our thing, and so they're all watching.
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, so the next let's come to this. The because you wanted to help our athletes, because we are working on few things together. You wanted our athletes the support, because you being here is impossible for quite a lot of time. So you actually recommended us to get into the website of yours where you can help us.
Yeah, because the thing is, you got to sign up for the online because I have limited spaces, as you know.
Yes.
Because
This
I
is on
cater.
which website?
No,
Ranil?
because because this is not on a website. Because I'll send
Okay.
you a special link. I think I sent
Right.
you and some guys the sample of it. So once you're
Yes.
the really serious guys, because I'll take on them, because it's going to be an individual thing, right? It's next best thing to being live, right? So like each day it's categorized. Each day you know what to do, so you don't have to think about it. You just do that and see the results. So it's like my thing is like result oriented. Like whichever the athlete I just prove results. So when we do the workshop in India, hopefully, like if you want speed, I'll give you speed right there. Not like in 6 months away, like whatever, like in a couple of days or whatever, you'll see the difference. So once you see the difference, the athletes will adhere to that program. But if they don't see the results, like this from my personal experience and my mentality as well.
We'll have to customize again. We'll have to change what they actually require with all the.
Yeah, because player A to player B, it's going to be totally different. Yeah. So for example, some girl might be, lacking power or like the lateral motion, right? Other girl might be having the power, but she doesn't have the speed, right?
So
So
for checking this, the player has to do it online or something. I mean, they have to give you all the specific, all the details. Is
yeah,
there
yeah, all
any
the data, yeah,
website
yeah.
where you
No, no,
have given
it's
a
not in the
space?
web. No, no, it's not in the website, because if
Right.
you're serious on the people, they can send an email to
Correct.
me on like
Yes.
info@tennisbpm.com, info
Yes.
at tennisbpm.com. So
Yeah.
then I can do the training. Then it'll be a 4-week program. So if they see the results, they can continue with the program, or if they are not happy, so it's not like a long-term commitment. So, but the thing
Yeah.
is, like, I have like limited space, so only the series I'll be taking. So because as you know, because you need to have the blend with the athlete and the coach as well.
Of course.
So yeah, so when that happens, the results comes in. So
Ranil, so initially,
yeah,
you mean to say, we'll keep it simple. You know, it is, you will, if somebody, when these guys enroll with you, so
yeah.
first you will do a testing for them. You know, you'll be
No,
sending
because
them something so that for
I'll send them
testing.
some protocol. Yeah, some
Yeah.
protocols to send me
Yes.
back details, right, from the
Correct.
medical, the blood
Correct.
results, or like the blood pressure. Then I'll do
Yes.
some basic tennis drills, because I can't do it live
Right.
here. And I'll last
Exactly.
there's post for, like, for example, you have like a 20-yard dash from the tennis court, or like the
Correct.
medicine ball throw from a forehand side, the backhand side. Then I'll get the power, so they can
Yeah.
do that particular drill on the court with the
Correct.
usual protocol. Then I know exactly where they stand. So then we can actually train for like 4 weeks, right?
Correct.
After training for 4 weeks, then we can see 4 to 5 weeks, then we can see the difference, because then we have like a parameter or like a baseline where they stand. So if you take the long,
Exactly.
like single leg long jump, or the vertical jump, or the spider drill, then they can actually
Yes.
see, okay, are we improving your fitness or not? So if not, what
Yes.
happens, like if you don't have a base, you don't know your starting point, you don't know your midpoint, you don't know your end. So then what happens,
Yes.
you're doing like a lot of stuff, okay, hoping, but it's not black and white. So when we
Correct.
train athletes, everything is black and white. If something is not working, we change it. So that's why we do
Yeah.
the
You need to customize frequently. I mean, depending on.
yeah, depending on, like, that's why we say like every 4 weeks on the individual. I mean, online programs I do every 4 weeks, because I don't have the time. But if it's on a live athlete, when I train one-on-one, it's going to be daily. So daily, yeah. So that's the only way if you're going on to the top level. But like in a country wise or a group wise, as I was telling you before, then it's not going to have the same results, but you'll have better results, right?
Sure. And how about now? There's one more question which as I
Yeah.
told you, Mukund had asked me. You know, now he's
Mukund
traveling.
now. Yeah, Mukund. Yeah.
Mukund is traveling.
Yeah,
So Mukund is traveling. So he hardly
yeah,
gets a week or a couple of weeks break. You
yeah.
know, now how we do it for players who are traveling. You know, who are traveling for, probably he's traveling between 25 to 30 weeks every year, and
Yeah,
next week he's somewhere, next week he's somewhere else.
yeah, that's why that's the main reason why I have this online program. So
Right.
when you're traveling, you have like different tasks. So they can communicate with me on a daily basis. Okay, like this is my training load, or like this is what I did today. Then we have like a training load monitoring system. So in a basically every athlete can do that. Then we modify it accordingly. So for example, if you have like a 3-hour match today, so then you modify your recovery protocol instead of like doing something else, right?
Right.
So it's adjusted according to the playing environment, the players feeling emotionally and physically. Sometimes they break rest, then you have like the heat factor coming into play. I mean, especially in tennis, you got the. I mean, sometimes like when the heat factor is there, heat index is high, then you have like a problem in continuing at the same intensity. So then we, with the online program, they can access through the mobile phone or like the tablet or whatever. Then it's already there, what to eat, when to eat, like so they just need to go there, click it, and done. That's meant for like people like that's why I say like the corporate guys who are traveling is the same thing. Business people who are traveling to business, and they are also traveling. Athletes are traveling, coaches are traveling. So my niche is, instead of the weight loss people or toning people, or like you do like, oh, lunges, oh, look at my legs, like Okay, it's like 30 minutes. The burn, like, okay, go push more, like, yeah, it's not my thing. Actually, to be very frank, I was there like long years ago, 20 years ago. I was the same thing when I was doing like personal training, group training, but that doesn't fit to the so the professionals in the field. Yeah.
See, that's the reason I told you. You know, there's so much you probably, you know, in the last 23 years. Okay, last 11 years. from the time we met last time.
Yeah.
There's so much changeover now.
Yeah, yeah.
The Under
Yeah,
Armour
because
guy is now,
now I'm
with
like a
lot of,
highly, I'm like
yeah,
highly.
absolutely, absolutely. It's totally different. Different Ranil from 2009 to 2020. Ranil, amazing. We have another question, Ranil, here.
Yeah,
In these
shoot me
times
this
of
one.
lockdown,
Yeah.
times of lockdown, we should
Hey,
have
Ratana, right?
uh,
Ratana Rao.
Ratan Rao. The AI-based math simulation for our players to keep match fit. Arun, uh,
I didn't
Arun,
understand the AI. Yeah.
yeah, even
Artificial.
I didn't understand. Just Ratan, if you can just what that AI. I didn't understand that. Maybe Ratan can maybe send a message again. In these lockdown times,
Yeah.
yeah, we should have maybe based match simulation for our players to keep fit. Or maybe he is mentioning that maybe if he can have some match simulation kind of thing, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that's what I figured out. Oh man, like you're on
Yeah,
the yeah.
right.
I thought as much, Ratan. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
yes,
mean, if you have
yes,
the access, that's perfectly
yes,
fine.
right.
Because because the thing is like this kind of what do you call the high tech gear, most athletes cannot afford, especially when you
Yeah,
come to the Southeast Asia and the Asian countries.
yes,
But I mean, if you have the access, go for it by all means. So every tool is useful, as I was
yes,
telling you, because you have like some reaction apps that those are good, some games are good. I mean,
correct.
even certain games, I mean, it's pretty good. So if you have the
Yeah,
access, use it. Yeah, by all means, use
right,
it. Yeah. Yeah,
right.
because
Yeah.
the thing
So
is
that
like
is
you need to find the. I mean, if you're a coach, you have been training athletes. What are the what do you call the protocols in the sense what are the protocols and how to use it for your particular athlete, right? It's not
yeah,
about
again
using
everything.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
everything
everything
because
depends on what they want. What they have to go ahead. What you have and what you can provide them with.
exactly, yeah. Because see, some of the
Right.
times, because some of my athletes ask like, why aren't I bringing like the air compressions? So we do for recovery the air compressions, like the
Yes.
recovery booth and
Yes.
stuff like that. You must have seen.
Yes.
Then I have like
Yes.
my percussion guns with like a 6-speed, certain amount of hertz, right? So certain amount of percussions per minute, right?
Yes.
That's like a 6-speed. Then you have like the lasers.
Right.
Then you have like the other
Right.
stuff. Then I do the manual manipulation. But the thing is like, I don't use that on every athlete, every tool. So,
Right.
so I use it at the certain athletes, certain tools at the right time if they require.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually,
Customization everywhere.
yeah, customize because the coach will know your athlete the best because you spend
Correct.
like a lot of time on the a
Yeah.
lot of time with
On
the
an
athlete.
average, and I think if you are working on some athlete, a tennis player especially, for a couple
Yeah,
of years or maybe more than that, you will be able to
yeah,
understand the ways, their mood swings, their ways, their food
exactly. Yeah,
habits, everything.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Correct.
especially
Correct.
yeah, because especially when you're coming to the what do you call the I mean, the female athletes, when they're having their
Yes.
periods, then you have to treat
Yes.
them in a different way because the training protocols,
Absolutely.
everything changes. Yeah. Then your supplementing
Correct.
changes. But then again, it's vary from athlete to athlete on that period time. So if you're doing, their emotional status is like all haywire and stuff like that. So as a coach or like a strength coach, we just modify it then and there.
Right.
So female A to female B and C is going to be totally different how they respond or react. Same with the guys. So the guys will be, some guys will, after a loss, they'll be pumped up to go and like some kick ass or whatever, like in my words, I love to say, or like,
Right.
it's like, yeah, because I'm like unorthodox. So yeah, because some
Yeah.
people, some male athletes would be down, right? They'll be like really closed off and like, in a mood, not talking to anybody. Because other athletes, when you're like, when you get like a really beaten up in a match, then you'll go. Like if you say like you lose like a love and love, then the next match they'll be like really fight to go and go for the
Absolutely.
win. Yeah, or else
Correct.
like they'll be down. So those are like the extreme. Yeah. So
That being unorthodox is the best part.
Yeah.
The best part about yourself, so I'm quite a lot of them, in that. And the most important thing which I wanted to personally ask you is,
Yeah.
you know, uh, especially in tennis and quite a lot of badminton and all these sports, men and women, boys and girls, we tend to practice together, train together, right?
Yeah.
Do you think, for men it is different and women, apart from customization, the general
Yeah.
stuff, you can put the amount of the load which we are going to give can be same?
So what happens like when you're inspiring, for example, 15-year-old girl and a 15-year-old guy, for example, 16 or 15, but the guy will have more power. That's actually the genetics. That's the gender difference, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, but if that's where we come in, I was telling you in the beginning of this conversation about the training age, right?
Exactly.
So training age. Yeah, training age. So you got the biological age, you got the chronological age, you got the training age, right? Those are the three age factors. So for example, if the girl is like 15 years old and she's been playing tennis for like 12 years, right? And the guy is 15 years old and playing tennis for like 1-2 years, right? Then the girl might be able to match the strength and the power of that athlete, the male athlete.
Okay.
But the training levels and the power output is like equal. Then what happens, like the trauma when you hit the racket with the ball, the impact will carry throughout the system. So you get like microfractures and the tendon and the ligament problems and stuff like that when you're playing with a higher intensity. But it's always good to have variety. Then what happens, like the coach, you can ask your athlete, like for the male player, to reduce the force he's playing at. So he can play more with like speed instead of power. See, you get what I'm saying? So you got to modify it like when you're working out or like doing the matches. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's more information. That's very nice. And because most of them here have been training together on the same, on the same.
I sip on my coffee. Yeah. I just sip my coffee. Yeah. I need my caffeine.
Yes, of course. Ratan has another, question. We coaches should have a basic training in human psychology, physiology, and psychology.
Yeah, it's best that you understand why, but you don't need to go dig in deep, but you need to understand why, right? The psychology, how you respond, how you talk to a person, but if you're having like parents, how do you react? Then also again, because since I've traveled with like different cultural backgrounds, each culture responds in a different way, right? So for example, what I talk in with my American athletes will not digest, and the humor and like the social background will not digest with the British guys. It will not digest with the humor with the Australians. So if I come to India, it's like a different. Like if you go to Indonesia, it's different. Thailand is different. I mean, go Vietnam, Myanmar, it's different because you need to understand like who are your coaches working out, and then you need to adapt yourself to that culture and the environment and dig it in. So sometimes like when my professional athletes, they got used to me as well. So when I coach them, they're like going to be a lot of bleeps, but they understand because I do it with care. But it's like all like filtered, right? On like public media, it'll be filtered.
Exactly.
It's done. So, but then they know at the end of the day, because it's like the part of the intensity is that it's not in a bad way, but it's how we train and how we motivate them. But the same thing, if I tell like another person in another country, then they'll be like really offended. Like everybody will be offended, and like it's going to be another.
Exactly. Well, that's one of the major parts these days,
and for Ratan's question, let me elaborate.
We're getting into the last minute, Ranil. We're getting into the last minute.
We are done for all right.
We will have another session sometime with you soon, according to your schedule, because on some specific stuff, which I would like you to figure out, whichever you want to talk on.
Yeah, I think basically we can the next session we can see like the importance of like the proper warming up. That's like most people fail on that. How do you activate the neuromuscular system to be tennis specific? Then we can elaborate on that, because soon I'll be starting the podcast in about a couple of weeks with another strength coach of mine. Yeah, so until then they can see the what do you call the website and